So we are live now. And hello, everybody who can see us and probably will see the recorded version of this. Thanks for all for listening and joining in. Feel free to leave your comments and questions here as we will review them and get back to you. The intention behind these presentations and this conversation is to bring awareness to the people side of the equation, right? Artificial intelligence, machine learning, NLPs, large language model, chat GPT, way too many buzzwords. So we want to incorporate people in those buzzwords and have people as the focus of this buzzwords and discussions. What does it mean for the people? What does it mean for the workspace? What does it mean for healthy employment? Right. All these topics really have to be thought through, and this is the purpose of this community, is to have S.M.A.R.T, specialist, method, advocacy, research, and training. So we are doing lots of research, lots of training amongst ourselves, amongst the advocates. We are the advocates for specialists who will deliver artificial intelligence, and specialists who will use those artificial intelligence, and specialists who will be impacted negatively or positively by artificial intelligence and these new digital transformations that are happening. Uh, Unlike many of the technologies, we have seen artificial intelligence as something that will cause a social shift that we have not seen previously. Along with the social shift will come employment shift, as in the workspaces will change, how we do our work, how we conduct our businesses will change as well. So the specialist will really need to understand the methods and framework and advocate for themselves or for others uh, through the workspace, through social perspective, or just in general for our kids, even right when we have children and raising the next generation. Many ways we can advocate, and the way we are advocating, myself and Smart AI community, we have Desi today, we have Vincent, we have a few other people that are not on the call because it's summertime and everybody's out on vacation and hanging out with the families. But today we have the special guest Vincent, right? Vincent is gonna give us his perspective on these ongoing, continuous conversations that we really have to have. So this is sort of that part one, breaking the surface of that conversation, because the complexity is not as simple as a zeros and ones. It's a human brains that we're talking about. It's psychological safety of people, psychological safety of the employees that we're talking about. So. Specialists like ourselves, we have our own specialty, we have our own framework. So as you listen to Vincent, trying to incorporate your specialty into it, trying to understand how your framework can change, because that's what we are really going to dive in with Vincent, is the change management. How do we have to change? What changes are necessary, and what change do we really need to emphasize on and focus and improve on? So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Vincent. And Vincent, once you make some introduction, I will let Daisy make the introduction as well, and then we can get into the presentation side of things. How does that sound, Vincent?
Yeah, sounds perfect. So, hi everyone. So, my name is Vincent. So, a little bit about me. So, I am studying industrial organizational psychology. Um, and right now, a lot of my research is about AI and how it's affecting education, higher education, and the workplace. But I'm focusing it more on employees, their well being, like, as you said, the positive side and the negative side of things, because when new technology is being adopted into the workforce, there's always going to be some kind of conflict, even if it's the best technology in the world. There's always going to be some kind of conflict when adopting new change. And that's what I hope to get across with during this presentation. And then I'll let Desi introduce himself real quick.
Sorry. Sorry. Taking some time for the computer register not to unmute myself. So, hi everyone. My name is Desi Montgomery. I am also a student of IO. I'm studying for my PhD level. My focus is on military and talent assessment and recruitment. which has been pretty evident for the past week because there's news that came out that there's a new rule of adding to our draft from 18 years of age to 24 to now it's 18 years of age to the age of 26. So that's changed things drastically, and I'm looking at how AI can be used to better assess the talent within military organizations. That's what I'm about. Also, I love digital twin. I'll be discussing that possibly at the next one, tentatively. But today is all about Vincent and his presentation. So thank you.
Oh, that's great, Nessie. Yeah, as most of the team from Action are some form of military. I was in the military myself, and so when I heard about that draft, perked my ears. Um, but kind of like with the military and AI, with the change, um, like I said, there's always going to be conflicts, and so kind of what I want to get into is when adopting AI and all these other buzzwords that come with it, kind of just put it in a little bit more different perspective. So thinking about AI, some people think it's brand new. It just came out, when ChatGPT came out. But actually, the term AI has been around for quite some time. Um, Actually, some things that are younger than AI are the microwave oven. Worldwide internet is actually younger than the term AI. Post-it notes, some fun ones. Hot Wheels is actually younger than AI, so it's weird hearing that, but my most fun fact that I had was about the same time, kind of like depending on how you look at it, when it's created and manufactured, but Mr. Potato Head and artificial intelligence is about the same age. And so, why am I talking about this? When people hear about AI, they think, like I said, it just came out, but actually, it's been around since the 50s, when I believe it was either in Columbia or in Dartmouth University when it was first talked about and mentioned, and so it's been around for quite some time. It's not just what ChatGPT just came out in 2022. It's been around for quite some time, so it has years of growing and development. But like with any kind of new technology, even back in nowadays, there's always room to improve it. So when thinking about a business, this is kind of just like a typical business structure. You have your CEO, your other chiefs, and traditional workers that's always wanting to improve. It's giving some kind of service, some kind of product, whether that be a physical product or like a consultant, where it's more not as tangible. But the key thing with businesses and all this that has in common, and from all these different levels, the big thing that all these levels has in common is people. And that's the hugest thing, because we as humans, we created the AI. Very smart people created artificial intelligence. Very smart people created, all the um, formulas and all the math stuff, and we're able to understand it. In my opinion, the only difference between we as people and artificial intelligence has, the only difference is that it can just do things very, very quickly. We can analyze data, we can write papers for ourselves, we can create images even, but artificial intelligence just does it very rapidly, which is a very good thing, because that means we can use it as a friend and use it as an assistant when we're doing business tasks. But the thing that artificial intelligence doesn't really always take into consideration is the feeling that we get when we're at work, when we're in conflict with someone, when we have different variants of opinions with our coworkers, and that's when conflict starts to arise. So when adopting AI, if you want to put it into business practice, there's always going to be some kind of fear and resistance when change is happening. Everyone's big thing is that AI is taking our jobs or taking employment away from people, which I think, you know, some true, some not, but because we're not being taught it. It's just being thrown at and it's being more in our face. And so actually addressing these concerns and not just saying, yeah, it is what it is. Actually sitting down with your employees and, hey, what do you want from me as a leader to help you out when adopting AI? And one of the big things is building trust in your employees. Actually, I think the biggest thing is building trust from your employees. We, as leaders, when adopting any kind of change management, especially new technology, should already trust our employees and trust our lower level management to be doing the best interest of the business. And so, if we don't have that trust from our employees as leaders, that's a whole other issue set aside from adopting AI. When you want to encourage employee engagement, you wouldn't want to, if you want to do like a fun time and want your employees to do something risky, if you wouldn't do it yourself, why would you expect your employees to do it, if you know what I mean? And so engaging with your employees, digging down deep, looking at their day to day and seeing what they can really utilize AI for, and show them the great benefits that AI can help them with the task. Different departments will use AI differently. IT will use their AI differently than HR, operations, supply chain will use AI completely different. But that's a good thing because it'll bring different aspects to build AI even better. And providing a growth and supportive mindset when we never want to feel not supported from our leadership, which is so sometimes baffling to me, where I hear employees from my friends at other jobs or even my loved ones where they say my leader doesn't really support us. And I'm like, what? Especially as IOs, it's so baffling to hear us, because it's second nature to us. Yes, it makes sense. Support your workers, support one another, because that's how the business grows. Um, a conference I attended in Chicago for the Society of IO Psychologists. I attended a panel where they talked about the study that they looked at, whereas the attitudes toward adopting AI, or all, where psychologists at Purdue University looked at and validated a 25-point scale when adopting AI, and these were just the top 6 that they looked at. So AI, human likeness, adaptability, quality of AI, the anxiety of it, job insecurity, and personal utility. All these are not very unexpected, because of course people want to use the best AI, they want to use the best technology. You don't expect a construction worker to use a hammer to build a whole house. You want, to use the best quality tools to better your jobs. And we can talk about this more as you know the presentation goes on. Um, but like I said, job insecurity is probably one of the big ones in my opinion, where people that are unfamiliar with it, especially in older generations, I believe there's 6 generations right now in the workplace, and that's so baffling that I don't think that's really happened all that often. And so people different use of technology from in the 80s and even 90s is completely different than what the newer generation is being exposed to now. So not having that familiarity is quite scary, and that's okay. I think the best thing about when adopting AI is saying that's okay. I'll be there for you when change is happening. I think the biggest thing us as leaders and supporters and one of us can do is to be that person you wanted to be when you were in your entry level job, when you were just starting out, either right when you graduated high school, or right when you graduated college, or even your PhD program. At some point we were all in entry level, and there was someone that we looked up to, that we wanted to be and we wanted to implement. And no matter wherever you're at in these roles, being that person that you needed for is probably the biggest support when adopting really anything, but especially AI. Um, and the biggest thing that I think about when change is happening is growth and innovation comes from healthy conflict. And I'll say that again. Growth and innovation comes from healthy conflict. And I think the key word is healthy conflict. There will be back, a little bit of pushback, but that'll be the best part because then you still get to learn and make AI better, make your business better, grow some um, personal skills, soft skills within the business. And so when we talk about AI and everything, it's not okay, you attended this presentation and then that's it. I've learned everything. It's a continuous conversation that I want to talk to more people about from different aspects. There's IOs, there's data people, there's IT people, but there's everyone that can use AI in some form. And so it's always a continuous conversation we should be having throughout the whole process from when it's first implemented, 3 months afterwards, to a year afterwards, because AI is only going to get better as time goes on. And so that's kind of just my quick thoughts about AI. And I would love to talk to more people about what they thought about it. If there's certain parts of my presentation you want to talk about more and kind of dissect into everything.
Yeah, I think Daisy probably have some questions, but I would like to take the privilege here and ask specific questions to the aspects that you mentioned. Right, I'm assuming this is a continuous conversation, and the continuous conversation means you probably have multiple perspectives that you would bring to the table. So, what are some of the perspectives are you thinking about for the future, like where you think will be a sequence of information that you want to give to the people, and that way they have this sequence of information that they can utilize later on.
You know, doing research on yourself is always helpful. During my time with research, I've kind of called that like the pineapple pizza effect, where people in AI at business, they either hate it or they're for it and they see the bad sides of it. Um, but I don't know. I'm, let me think. So like we're talking about when aspects where you mentioned more like during the change or
Yeah. I think when we were discussing some of those uh, job titles, right? Everybody sees it differently. So when it comes to the workspace, uh, we have a person that we work with on a daily basis, right? And then there's this shift in COVID that happened, when people are like, not working from workspace anymore, and there's a relationships changing because now everybody's remote, so we don't really get to see them that often. So the way the workspace is portrayed on TV, the workspace that we are familiar with through our mom and dads or through our family, all of a sudden we don't work the same way anymore, right? So we have these separate, isolated world, and where AI is kind of filling into those gaps, right? So I think that's what I was heading towards, is that like when you're talking about psychological safety of a person who's employed or who's actually leading a team, what does that mean to have an AI in the middle, right? I think we have to make a long list of conversations to have and then just throw it out there. But we'll pick and choose the topics as they come, because there are some ones that really have to be uh, opened up like a Pandora's box and go through the box and figure out like how to discuss each of this topic.
yeah, most definitely. Yeah, like I said, yeah, every department will use it differently, and it'll be so interesting to see how different departments will, while integrating artificial intelligence, how what different needs they would expect, like for HR and during the hiring process. Um, it's very sometimes stressful, and so there are ways that HR could use AI to ease the interviewee or ease the interviewer. Sometimes I know that's stressful when talking to people because sometimes with HR we're a little more reserved and a little more quiet. Um, that how can it help one another? And I think there are ways, helping prompting, giving you questions based on the job description would be a quick, easy way. But as it's only developing, the assistant side of it, like we always talk about using AI as an assistant, having it, you know, be a second person or being almost like a note taker. So then you can just focus on the interview process and AI is in the background taking notes, analyzing everything, and then almost, as it collects more data, almost give you a prediction of how well a person would do at your business. And same thing with IT, where how different people are using IT and giving each other different, the best optimization for different bandwidths and different, at certain times, what should people be using and showing leadership, everything in a clear, simple process where it can free up a lot of free time of actual IT workers.
Desi, you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I was taking notes when Vince was talking, and it was a great presentation. First, I want to go back to the psychological aspects of AI. I was while you're talking, and I was just thinking about all the safeguards we have as a society for everything that we do on a day-to-day basis, but there's truly no safeguards for AI and its usage, and that's not just talking about like language models and robotics and stuff, but just the generalized ideas that why don't we have like a bill of rights for AI? We have bill of rights for most everything, and the bill of rights is in our constitution, it's in our DNA as an American society, but we don't have a bill of rights for the change of the technological advancement we were making in our society. And I feel like that would not eliminate the insecurities or the fears of AI, but it would more give people reassurance that hey, there are things in place to protect your data, to
Mm.
protect you from the AI, and we have thought of ways to make you feel safer in using it. Second thought is the 2 points defining AI in language models and robotics. I think when people hear like, oh, they're taking our jobs, they're thinking of like some machine or some robotic taking your job, or some invincible computer that you'll never see is going to take your job. But we have to distinguish the difference between AI, machine learning, robotics, and everything under that bubble to show people like, hey, these are just tools, just like you have your phone. You have that's a tool that can be used to make your day better, or a calculator to help you solve math problems, and show people that hey, every time you go on a trip and you use Google Maps, what do you think is guiding you? AI. AI is looking at the traffic and seeing what's the best routes constantly. And so if we just show people that hey, AI has been in your life since day one, you just haven't noticed it because that's the point of AI is to make your life simpler without being actually a problem in your life or being seen in your life. So great presentation. That's it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was just like when we first were meeting, when we were talking about what are people's perspectives of AI. I think now that it's more, I guess, mainstream and a little more, I guess, in our face about it. You hear it more on the news. You don't hear about, like you said, you don't hear Google Maps or Apple Maps on the news when it came out. Just, oh, this new cool thing. But, on my Google that I have at home and I ask it questions, it's a quick AI thing and it's almost like silent AI in the background where you don't really think about it. It's you just like you said, it's your day to day, and especially with the new generation of students coming in and even children using technology. My siblings always gave me, um, some hard times because I am the youngest, and they're like, "Oh, you have all this new technology." I'm like, "Well, you guys just didn't have it back then. Like, you guys didn't have your phones or anything in the '80s." But me being late '90s, early 2000s baby,
Right.
it was just a common thing that I had.
Yeah.
And so now that it's almost in everyone's pocket, it's like it's going to be more common. And like you said, showing how to use it as opposed to just being like, here it is, but showing even basic demonstrations of how we use artificial intelligence, I think will, like I said, we people want the human side of AI, but I think just showing those basic demonstrations will humanize it as
Yeah,
opposed to it looking like a human. Or, I know there's a lot of technology that wants to make AI breathe, and the customer service stuff that makes it the
yeah,
clicking sound, but I think just that day to day will humanize artificial intelligence.
yeah. You get the whole Terminator and it's taking over the world. Like we're not trying to give this whole cognitive abilities. We just wanted to learn within the aspects that we are guided to learn in parts of our lives, not try to take over
Yeah,
as people and society. We're looking at it as a personal assistant that everyone can use. That not everyone has the means to have help. So this is just a simple tool to help us as a survive society.
yeah, I would never want AI to take people's jobs because like we as humans created the AI, just really, like I said, really smart people just made it. And so when people talk about jobs, not mm, it's gonna take everything. I think going about it differently would be, it's gonna help my job. It's gonna help me be better at my job. I just don't know yet. And I think that's kind of the fun thing about AI, that it's still kind of new, that we get to play with it a little bit, um, and see how it's making us better.
Yeah, I think as I'm listening to you guys, I'm just loving the fact that this is sort of where you are today
Yeah.
versus few months ago when we started talking about AI machine learning, right?
Mm.
So give us that delta. What is the difference between 2 months ago when you started realizing how AI could be useful and how AI could be, something of a negative, but the logistics of it, the core of it, how difficult it is to make an AI. What does it take to make an AI? I mean, I see Desi just lights up when you're talking about putting people's face on a screen and having digital twin capabilities. Like where you guys started to where it is today, like, are you more comfortable, not necessarily comfortable with the outcome of an AI, but the comfortable with how AIs are developed and how AIs can make the difference in our lives? Tell us a little bit more about that. And I would like to hear same from Desi because you guys both started on the same point, but I know Desi's in the digital twin route. You are sort of going down the higher education route. So walk me through your thoughts as of like say, I think it's been 3 months, close to 3 months. So where are you guys now?
Yeah. So like I said, a lot of my research with AI has been in higher education, how faculty is using it in the classroom, and if they're encouraging their students to use it. And that's kind of just been my little window about it. And then comparing it to how industry members are using it to make a comparison. And I just thought, oh, it's just a generative part. It's just, like I said, it's just Chat GPT or Claude or Copilot, how the generative part of it. But seeing digital twin, I didn't know that was a thing. And so seeing how it's being used, and when we talked about in one of our meetings, it was able to predict cancer from in someone almost a full year before a doctor was able to diagnose it. And I just, now with my perspective of seeing it and how the different aspects, helping out medical field, aviation, um, you know, regular, even non-technical jobs. Because I think AI is for everyone. It's not just for the super techie people, not for the computer coding all day. I think it's for the daily use. And I think showing it in a way where it's not this scary monster that, although literally only thing it does is just can write your email faster or get your report done faster, which is a good thing because, businesses, you want to get it done quickly. And as it's growing and developing, of course, there's the backside of it of the data. data privacy, but I'm not super knowledgeable with that. I know people talk about it, but I know that's a separate concern. But even having that, if it can help me write my analyze my Excel or anything, it would really be beneficial.
Dissy, any thought on that?
Uh, so- sorry, just give it a minute. All right, so there I am. So the start is I was open to AI. I necessarily didn't see the changes in my day to day. But as this continues, I noticed that it's like a change in the air where um, how things were before are no longer existing, and it's like if you don't give it a change, you're gonna get left behind. And so going back to the jobs, some jobs just don't need to exist anymore. That's the sad truth that some jobs go away and they never come back. I don't think that's because of AI. I just think that's how society works. That things change and it doesn't go back, and we move forward. And so, when I came to this, I was just thinking AI is just like ChatGPT and just a simple language model. But it this has opened my eyes to the world of critical thinking of how things could be done differently. And when I met Asif and talked about digital twin, my it piqued my interest because there was things that I always want to do in the digital world that I want to represent from the physical world that I had some crazy ideas I wanted to try. And so that piqued my interest. And when I was studying well, still studying digital twin, I learned that it's mostly refined into manufacturing and our healthcare field. But it also started back with NASA when they were trying to go to the moon, and then it just carried on into or even our personal lives. If you're a gamer or you like video games or you like movies, if you ever seen like a behind the scenes of a creating of a green screen for a movie, and you see a guy wearing a suit with sensors all over him, that's the most literal sense of digital twin is taking a person in the real world and putting it into a simulation and having things happen to them. And so once learning that, I it just got the train rolling to what else could be used for digital twin. And like Vincent said earlier with the cancer, I thought that was a genius idea because that can change our behavior if we are having a digital twin of ourselves into a better lifestyle to prevent from having these preventable diseases later on down the road. So if, for example, if I had a digital twin and I want to see what would it be like if I changed my diet for a year, I could do that. I could have that digital twin to like, hey, all right, I'm gonna have only meats for 6 months, or only veggies, or what would happen to me if I only had water on certain hours of the day or certain amounts of water. Like the possibilities are endless,
Right.
and so it can lead you down a rabbit hole. And I've been stuck in this rabbit hole since I first heard about digital twin, and so I'm ready. I'm going to be ready for my presentation next week.
Yeah, I'm truly I'm looking forward to it because I think you guys are hitting on a few things, and I want to just put it all into one bucket, if I may, because we're all talking about possibilities here, right? The art of possibility is almost endless, just like art of collecting data is almost endless, right? Because the amount of data that we have is not necessarily very limiting, right? As in, if you say, well, this is how much data we have on Earth, well, what about the atmosphere and the space outside of the atmosphere, and then onto the what? The moon, and then beyond moon, the solar system, right? There's data everywhere. So, out of possibility of AI and the use cases that we're seeing right now, it's only scratching the surface because what we're seeing is that exponentially these use cases are growing on top of each other, right? So, when we're talking about the people, our brain is very very sharp, as in 86 billion neurons. If you're an adult person, you have the ability to process so much information but not necessarily stack them correctly. So when I meant by use cases are being developed on top of that, we're not developing a brain on top of the brain. We still have the same brain, and that brain needs augmenting, That brain needs to have that ability to say, if this use case is what I use, what other use cases do I stack on top of that? Right? So you see my flow of thought here is that you have a single brain, but that single brain is being augmented by multiple use cases. And all these use cases are coming into the surface. They're all using data and using those data different from the different perspective and putting those data together for the best use case possible, right? Not all AIs are great. Not all use cases are great. Some use cases will come and go. For example, Google search, the way we used to do Google search, it was part of our life. Here we are with ChatGPT. We're kind of looking at Google like really not feeling it anymore, right? And you can tell the quality of Google searches are kind of going down the rabbit hole. But the point I'm trying to make is that it it's the person that is very curious to understand these use cases have a different perspective like you guys do, right? You guys have the digital twin capability. You're looking at the possibilities of things. And on the other side, you have other people that are not probably even considering AI as something that they would want to learn more about or research it or even try to understand it, right? And then in between the spectrum of curious and not paying attention, and there's this feared ones that are saying like, well, this AI will change things and that will negatively impact me, right? And this negative impact, I think, is what we are trying to really close the gap with, right? Say, for example, if you guys are curious, you guys are understanding those cases, you're thinking about how brains will be augmented by use cases. On the other side, people that are not paying attention, it, it's a good thing, right? Because a silent AI is a good thing. AI that does things silently is the one that really doesn't interrupt much, but it elevates people's way of living without even thinking about what an AI is, right? Google search is an AI. Nobody told me that Google search was an AI unless I looked it up, unless I got curious about how Google search worked. And of course, Google search is AI. Just like your phone has a keyboard, that keyboard is an AI, but you don't think about that keyboard as an AI, but it is an AI, right? So the negative impact, the negative thoughts that we have about AI, if we can look at it from the data privacy side of things, if you look at it from the angles and perspectives, that is not necessarily just um, it's not necessarily just all fears. It's more like concerns, right? How do we elevate that fear into concern? That means we're educating the fear-minded personalities into the concern level. If they're concerned, is where we want them to be at, right? Concern means they'll either advocate for these topics, as in data privacy, safety, security of people. We don't want them to be fearful. We want them to be concerned, right? And one way we can have them be concerned is to get curious a little bit more, right? So advocates like us, we really have to focus on how we figure who it is that's being impacted negatively by AI, and how do we help them to get to a point of being concerned and do something about it, right? So that way they can advocate for themselves. Um, I know I said a whole lot here, but the point is that we are talking about advocating for people. We're the specialists. We really have to figure out the framework, how to advocate for what we believe and what other people needs to understand and stand up for what they believe in, right? So great conversation. I know this is our second conversation of this series of discussions that we're going to have every Monday at 11:15 Central Standard Time. So whatever time zone you're in, if you're listening into this conversation, it's probably is not live. It's probably pre-recorded, but every week we will have this live conversation. And I want to thank you, Dr. Ruth, for listening in and participating in the comments here. And we would like to have this conversation continuously happen, so that way people can come and ask us questions in real time, and we should be able to answer them as these questions come through. So I love that idea about having a doll that sounds normal, right? Sounds like a actual person responding to the questions. Um, there's so many ways to look at it, right? The psychological safety, and like Vincent mentioned earlier, I grew up with technology, my brothers didn't. And what are the gaps, the delta between me and my brothers? Look, I think that delta will never go away. Like, even for the iPhone that I have in front of me, I have a lot of people telling me how to use my iPhone most of the time because I don't know majority of the features there, right? Is because Well, first of all, I didn't ask it, and then second of all, I didn't know it was there, and then I wasn't concerned with not having it there. But once I found out, I was like, "Whoo, goodness, now I can't live without it. I love it, right? So the things of technology, these concerns will never kind of go away because the features will overload a person's need for that device. But having that device is what we really have, right? Not the feature itself, is the device, what it does, the core function of it. So a doll to a person, a phone to an adult, how do they psychologically impact them? I think we have to really answer those questions. We really have to dissect the topics. Um, yeah, Dr. Ruth is super, super curious about digital twin. Me and her talked about digital twin for a very long time. Love this digital twin concept. So I think when you said about the body and what happens to the water, without water, with vegetable, with meat. Look, a doctor does not have that much time to take notes on the cellular level information in 15 minutes doctor visit, right? And if you want a 16 minutes doctor visit, you got to pay extra, right? Or change your insurance company or get rich or something like that, right? Well, so when we have these sort of capabilities coming in line, digital twin of our body to understand the cellular level changes that's happening from last 6 months to 6 months from now. You have all sorts of capabilities coming down the pipeline, but they all have the same sort of concerns. What about the data? What about who's collecting the data? Who's using it? One of the things that I can guarantee you, US is not forefront of is biomedical industry AI use cases, right? Because the tremendous amount of data that we need for that is not being collected in US, but rather collected from US and being used overseas. And huge, huge security concerns there. Don't have much time to get into it, but that's what happens when we, as the person of curiosity, engage in this topic of digital twin, engage in this topics of what's happening to our data privacy, like Vincent said. We really get to unfold these concerns and questions and say, what do we need to do next, right? It's better late than never. That's the way to look at AI. Like Vincent said, it's been around for hundreds of years, but that doesn't necessarily mean it just showed up yesterday and now we have to worry about it. No, there's a lot of people are worried about these things. These use cases are piling up, the data are piling up. How do we handle those data? Let's get started. Let's start asking those right questions. Reach out to Smart AI community, reach out to our specialist here to talk about the things that topics that you would like to explore. So with that, I have some few minutes left to have maybe Vincent and Desi give your departing thoughts, and then we'll pick this back up next Monday again at 11:15 Central Standard.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining, or if you're watching later, I really appreciate it. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with us on LinkedIn. We're always open to having guests and joining our after hours of AI and everything. Something that you talked about that really stuck with me is when people from fear to concern, people that are pro AI and for people that are fearful and concerned of AI. I think the biggest thing is that they both care about their job. They both care about how it is affecting them and how it can make their lives better, because I think at the end of the day, that's what we really want AI to do, is to make our lives better so we can go home happier, go to our spouses happier, go to see our children more, to go free up more of our time. And if there's technology that's making us do that, yes, we should look at it from a positive perspective, but also talk about what is the bad side of it, because that would only then make it better. Technology is never getting better just because people are saying yes, it's good. It's always, how can I make this better? And it's usually the people that are talking negatively about it that we'll listen to, that makes it better. And I think it's so great that most of the team is made up of psychologists, and we're talking about AI because usually AI is more technical and everything, but we're talking about it more from a people's perspective. And I think that's the best way to go about it, is how is it affecting people, because that's really at the end of the day who it's going to be affecting. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to talking to everyone next week, and more digital twin and more about AI.
Excellent point as always, Vincent. Just want to thank everyone for having me. Thank you to the team, Smart AI. I'm very proud to be here and be a part of this movement. I would say. Just final thoughts is don't be afraid of trying new things. It's. I'd rather learn something out of failure than to not try anything at all. So with that in mind, I hope you guys have a great afternoon. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Vincent, for a lovely presentation. I have some homework to do, even though I'm done with classes. I have some homework to do with creating an excellent presentation like you. If you have any tips or tricks, I will be messaging you on the side.
Use AI.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do two different routes and see which one I like the best,
Right.
uh, and so I'll go from there. Thank you once again.
Thank you guys. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.